Welcome to Valuistics, Part 2, entitled Jump In. I'm David Braun, and we're kind of on a statistical journey. Two fairy tales come to mind, Alice in Wonderland and The Emperor's New Clothes. Alice in Wonderland, because of the laws of nature, will seem to be very different, at least at first glance. Once you get your bearings, you will see that the laws of mathematics are not really any different for statistics than anything else. However, your perspective will never be the same in regards to analysis. This is a good thing. The Emperor's New Clothes. In this fairy tale, the vain emperor is told that his new set of clothing is invisible to anyone who is too stupid and incompetent to appreciate its quality. Some statistical experts say that appraisers will need to understand and use most all of the statistical analysis techniques available. If you do not agree, then you must certainly be too stupid and incompetent to appreciate statistics. Best practices. What are some premises to go by when selecting which statistical techniques and methodologies to use? Well, one is competency. The other is the goal is to be better, not necessarily perfect. Competency means you understand the analysis and technique, you control it, and you have experience with it. The big question, what are my responsibilities as per USPAP? USPAP. Competency may apply to factors such as an analytic method. Standard Rule 1. In developing a real property appraisal, an appraiser must correctly complete research and analysis. Better, not perfect. There is a tendency to keep adding more and more statistical techniques and methods to the valuation process. Impact of perfection. We attempt to learn all facets of statistics. We kind of get caught in a loop and we can never really move forward because, as we discussed earlier, it's simply impossible to learn everything there is about statistics. Many statistical techniques may simply not be necessary based on the scope of work of the particular analysis in conjunction with the assignment. Circumvention. We can avoid some problems by finding another alternative. If we wish to avoid issues related to sampling, then use the entire population. If we are not sure about the ramifications of considering only 20 sales in a regression analysis, then use 30 sales or more. So a lot of times there can be issues in certain situations where we have to get into some complicated statistical testing, but if we can usually circumvent these the need for these tests by just kind of going a little different route. Testing. Setting up some situations and verifying that the technique or method is valid for valuing properties. And basically what this means, when I look at a new technique and I wonder should I be using it, I actually set up some situations and I run it and I get a feel, does it appear that they're giving me the correct results? And I think about, does it make common sense? Is it logical? Now, I'm not necessarily conforming to the scientific method, which means that my testing is inadequate to completely say, I ran a test, it didn't work, so we're done with it. However, if I run some tests and it doesn't look right, I typically will not include that in my valuation practice. We are basically defining the criteria on which to base a decision on whether a statistical technique should be used in the valuation process. So you can look at the chart that we've seen before, that valuation, there are parts of statistics that can help a lot in valuation, and we want to grab those and use those, and that's called valuation statistics, or I'm using a shorter word, valuistics. Exclusion of a statistical method or technique at this stage in the development of valuation statistics does not mean it is not valid or that it cannot be used in the future. We may come across some things that we're just not really sure whether we want to use it or not, and we can set that aside and just come back to it later. So smart or dumb. An appraiser runs a regression analysis in Microsoft Excel and gets several statistical outputs. Many of these he knows nothing about. He includes all of the statistical outputs in the appraisal report. I would say that's dumb, because the appraiser is using analysis and technique that he doesn't completely understand. And by doing so, he is likely to produce a misleading report. So what the appraiser should do is only put in the report and only rely on the statistical methods and outputs that he is competent to use, that he can, as remember, he understands and he controls and has experience in. Use PAP to keep abreast of changes and developments. The appraisal profession is constantly devising new methods and techniques. Each appraiser must continuously improve his or her skills to remain proficient. So some of the concepts that we're going to be looking at, the practical things, is we're going to look at trending with charts, databasing, scrubbing data, market modeling, statistics, and regression analysis. So again, the questions, I want to repeat this: how will valuistics impact the appraisal profession? How far am I behind the curve? What should I be doing to catch up? Thanks for listening to this video.